Good evening, Love and the Sisters family. Good to have you here with us. Just a few minutes delay, and I try to be as honest as I can be. Let me tell you what, this is our first day of break, and I sat down actually getting notes ready for us for the show tonight. Laid them notes aside and sat back in my easy chair, and it was easy for them guys to come take me away. I fell off. I was nodding. I was sleeping. Anyhow, so I'm here. I'm up, and I'm ready for us tonight. Part of what actually was just happening, and not trying to fix it, not trying to spin it, but it was a piece of self-care, self-love that was going on. Me taking some time for myself because there's 1,000 things I'm supposed to be doing. I have a whole schedule for errands to be running today, and I did my mailing off for my sister and some other extremely important things. I did those first and came back and took a moment of self-love, demonstrating self-love to get some self-care. And that's what happened right there. So I'll tell you what we're going to do tonight, starting a little bit late. I'm glad you're here. Those who are here, welcome, welcome, welcome. Want to run probably to about somewhere around 6:40, 6:41 tonight. Just extend a little bit because of our in getting started on time. Let me invite you to be thought partners, conversation partners. Those of you who are here, whatever things we are talking about, and I do have a specific that I'm giving to us tonight after I've asked us to be thinking about how love affects us, how we are affected by love if we are really consider that as we love others, that there are at least four kinds of love that's going on. It's the love that we have for ourselves. It's self-love, yeah, but it's the love that we have with another. That's us being in love with that connection of love that we have. But then it's the love for others that is actually happening. That's irrespective of, it's independent of the love we have with them. It's the love we have for them because they are a person that's created in the image of God. And it's loving them for being a person, not just being someone that we love, their eye color that we love, how tall they are that we love, her bow legs or whatever the attractions are and why we love. It's loving them for the sake that they are another person created in the image of God. And then there is that love that is about God, that is in our love. Okay, those four kinds are there. Sister Kimberly Von Daniels is here. Hello, good evening. So good to have you with us. And so I asked us last time as we left to be thinking about ourselves, for ourselves, to ourselves, if those kinds of loves are active in whatever our love relationship is, and then to consider how not recognizing those kinds of, not knowing that that is what is occurring as I am in a relationship, how that ignorance, and ignorance simply means not knowing something, no, how that ignorance affected what that love relationship, one of the examples in terms of ignorance and that love and the effect is sometimes we cannot know that I'm supposed to have love for a person and not with a person. And my act then, because I'm considering my love, but my actions cause me to do something that is not their fault at all. And whatever turbulence occurs in a relationship is really my fault. And I realize that had I realized earlier about love with them and for them, and that that's not the same thing, that whatever I did, whatever action that I did is what caused the rupture or the friction, the tension in the relationship. And so that's why I'm to think of these other kinds, these loves, the love involved in a relationship. It is me loving which is the primary base, healthy relationship. It is, of course, the love that I have with the person. And changing preposition is the love I have for the person. And then it's love as I love God, which is the source of love, which is a primary in how love is because the true source of love, then whatever love that is to fully come, that is love in its complete sense, in its true sense, then that comes comes from me loving God. So I've asked us to think about that, and I wonder what we may have discovered as we have thought about it, because I think the way we are taught about love, in one sense, it makes us think love is easy, or it makes us think that love just happens, that it just occurs. And, or we think love, I'm looking for a way to say this, that what we have or what we know of love is all there is. And the point that I wanted to stress with us, what I wanted us really to see, I wanted to create the concept for us, or introduce it to us, that love is not unidimensional. It is not one dimensional. I said to us that in a love relationship, there are at least 4 kinds of love that are occurring. That's what I just mentioned. Love for self, love with someone, love for someone, and then the love of God. All 4 of these loves, all 4 of these dimensions of love are active, are activated, are acting as we are in a love relationship. Nobody sits down with us and tells us this. Nobody teaches us this kind of thing. Nobody explains this. And to the greatest degree is because we don't know that that is what's true. We don't even realize that that's what's happening. The way we have seen love, known love, experienced love, heard about love is I love you, you love me. That isn't that was that Barney song, the children's song, that I love you and you love me. That's the height, that's the basis, that's the limit to. That's the greatest understanding that we actually have love, that 2 people are in love, and that's it. And I'm suggesting to us that love understood in that way, just this 2-way street, I love you, you love me, that is not understanding the other dimensions that are even involved in the process. I want us to think about that. That's a big concept to even be able to come to. And so I want us to, as my youngest brother would say, smoke that over. Think through that. Core Parks is here. Hey, Ma, how you doing? So good to have you on here. That's my godmother, y'all. But think through that some. We're actually, I'll mention to this too, you guys, started a little late, so we'll go to 6:41 on tonight with our broadcast because of a little late start. But what I want us also to think about when it comes to love, and I'm not going to do a big piece on this. I'm going to do sort of introductory and then leave this for us to really expand on more on next time. But October is a that's full of interesting and celebrations. We know that last Saturday we just came the observance of Sweetest Day, which in some other areas in the know. And I have to say that because I have friends from Illinois, I have friends from Indiana, I have friends in other places, and of course Detroit transplants in other places all around the country who are in the know, but who also know what Sweetest Day is. And it is I guess, compendium holiday to Valentine's Day, so that the Valentine is the man's heart concentration. And so he celebrates Valentine's Day. He gives her whatever else is involved in that. Sweetest Day is the compendium to that, is where women then um, take their concentration, the man that's their heart concentration, and focuses on him. And whatever way Valentine's Day is celebrated, or that Sweetest Day is supposed to be that from the woman to the man. And of course, I know that all my life, but I'm the kind of guy, for me, I just believe every occasion, every holiday is one to acknowledge, to highlight, and celebrate women. So, that be that as it may, but Sweetest in October observance. We know, of course, the end of this month, we're going to be getting the holiday Halloween, and so there's another, and I don't know why it's called a holiday, and then I do and I don't, but that's also in October. We know as well that October is both breast cancer awareness month. That's three things, and also domestic violence awareness month. But probably littler known else is that October is also clergy or pastor or ministers appreciation month. So that, as you know, that this month is also side, and it's on the calendar. You can find it there. I'm not making it up. I'm making it up. You can actually look it up. That October is that celebration. Some calendars actually have it. All calendars do not have. But it is a month, and it's set aside to acknowledge and to concentrate on the clergy people that you know, and out them out for the work that they do. And I want to say this, and kind of help our thinking on things, that the setting of this month, who actually started Clergy Appreciation Month, but the setting of this month is really, I think, apropos, because the season of the year that we are in, and I'm talking about in terms of nature, and this follows the history of humankind, the season that we're actually in, which begins somewhere in the middle of September, goes through to the end of the first of the year, is called Thanksgiving season. And some of you will, well, but Thanksgiving is in November. Okay, I'm not talking about a holiday. I'm talking about a season. All right. And what do you mean that by nature, in terms of nature, this is so? Well, I'm glad you asked. This is the time of year that after planting in the planting in the springtime of the year, earlier in the year, that crops have actually grown and gone in through to their process of germination and then blooming and maturation. This time of year, starting somewhere, and it actually, depending on when you plant, because summer crops are actually planted sometime around this time, and then come up June, July. But crops that are planted earlier then are harvested, are ready for harvest, end of September. And the beginning of harvest time is the beginning of Thanksgiving season, because when historically people had been reaping and had harvested their crops, their first um, expression after the work of harvest was done was to give thanks for what they had received. All right. Thanksgiving Day follows another tradition, something else going on with that altogether. I'm talking about what's happened with people historically around the world since people began harvesting crops, since humanity almost began. And so the season begins with the harvesting, the receiving of two things: receiving one from the ground that what God has given, and then uh, receiving from the God who gave. One, receiving from the ground because the ground gives, and then receiving from God who makes it possible for the ground to give. So the season goes throughout uh, the harvest season into what is celebrated as the birth of the sun. This is actually around what we call Christmas time. That week into the new year, when the new moon comes for the new year. All of that whole season, because God is now giving us another year. That whole season is called Thanksgiving season. And interestingly, again, I'm saying that holiday of, or this observance of clergy appreciation comes in October, which is Thanksgiving. The God who gives also is the one calls the clergy who ministers to people, causes them to be able to give. They serve people too. So just like ground gives, because God has caused the ground to yield what it does. In the same way, similar fashion, at least, God gives gifts. God gives so many things to the women and men of God, and not for them themselves, but God gives to them for the sake of the people that God loves. And when He gives to the minister freely, without any discrimination, without any reservation, then the minister is to give. Just like the ground doesn't play games with who it's going to yield to and who it's not going to yield to. If you follow the proper um, process, the planting of seed, the cultivation of it, God allows the water to fall, allows the sun to shine. The ground does not discriminate. It gives back if you do what you're supposed to it. Same way, the minister is not to discriminate in any way, but because God has given to the minister, then ministers, clergy are supposed to be giving back to people. And I had to put that little caveat in it about, because when I mention this, I'm not just talking in terms of racially discriminating. There's other ways that discrimination happens, but the minister is to freely be giving. And because this work, people don't realize this, the work of ministry is a costly work. It is a costly work. People never see what is associated in the cost of ministry, because people only see one or two ways that a minister actually does their work. People see ministers, of course, the primary way is on the pulpit, preaching, teaching. That's what most people associate to the role of ministry. It's what most people associate to what clergy do. And in some ways, people will see um, if there is some sort of uh, ministry that's done with serving homeless, or giving to people without who are destitute, and those kinds of ways, people see that kind of ministry, those two ways, but people never realize um, all of the other things that are associated with ministry, and not realizing that even if it's just the preaching ministry that most people only see that if a woman of God or man of God says one thing that you take to heart and it changes your mind or changes your life, that is worth untold value. That just speaking a word, that's just saying something that changes your direction or changes your attitude or changes your outlook or even changes your interest. Just speaking or saying one thing that does that, the value of that is inestimable. And I'm not talking about, how many times a call is made at 3 a.m. or for various reasons, not realizing that occurs relatives of pastors' membership, not the members themselves, but those related to members that is pastored. Not to mention the prayers. Oh God, the intercession and the anguish that the clergy does on behalf of, not to mention, and concern that a minister has, that clergy people that are under their charge, and most times not just for the people that are served, but for people in general. Because the minister's work, the clergy's work, is not just limited to the people that are in their concentric circle of contact, but clergy who's worth their call has the care and the concern of all people. They have the responsibility for those under their charge who are in their concentric circle of contact. But that does not stop with those. The responsibility is for the people with them, but the outlook, the care, the view, the concern is for people everywhere. And I could go on to talk about the ways that it's not seen and understood what clergy does, but what I want to do, what I'm trying to do, is to help us to see the way in which this month of clergy appreciation is actually meaningful. Because with just what I have mentioned in terms of what clergy does, almost never is that done, though, are those things done with a thank you from anybody. This work, and I posted some statistics at the beginning of the month. I think I'll bring that back next week, because I want to land this month with talking about clergy appreciation. But it talks about how many suicides, how many leaving of jobs, how many experience depression, how many effects that is caused by those who are suffered and experienced by those who are in ministry. And so much of that has to do with the fact that for all clergy people do for other people, people don't even say thank you. And just to realize how much, and this is one of those cases, that how much a simple thank you, how encouraging somebody saying thank you, how uplifting, how strengthening it is for somebody to say thank you for an acknowledgement for what the clergy person has actually done. And so what I want to do for next time, and let me cross the bridge for us. Let me make the connection for us. It's going to be about a love checkup for clergy next time. But here's the connection to that. Those of us who are saved and are members of local congregations, guess what is true? You are in a relationship with a woman or a man of God. you as a member have a relationship with that pastor that is formed because you are a member of the congregation that they pastor. And so a love relationship exists there. And I ain't talking about in no spurious and no salacious and no crazy way. All of us are in relationship with somebody all of the time. In this specific context, I'm talking about the relationship that is exists between pastor and members of their church that are there. And so, in that same way that I talked about a moment ago, that there being nuances and levels of love and there different dimensions of love, the same thing is true. It's about the love that you have with that pastor because of the relationship in the body of Christ. It's about the love that you have for that pastor because of that being the person that God has placed you and set you under. It's about that love in that relationship that comes from God because you are, excuse me, family of God and people of God, and the true expression of love coming through the true source of love. And so there are different dimensions of love that's in a relationship. And because that is true, then especially at this time of year when this is Clergy Appreciation Month, then the gratitude and the attitude and the way of acknowledgement of appreciation for God, for giving this gifted woman of God, this gifted man of God, to be the leader of the congregation where you are a member of. But then secondly, to give gratitude, to give appreciation for an acknowledgement for the woman of God, the man of God themselves, for what they do, seen and unseen. I love how our ancestors used to pray that, thank God for delivering us, for saving us from danger, seen and unseen. And in terms of ministry, that reality is there too, that there is ministry that occurs on your behalf that is seen, and mostly and overwhelmingly that is unseen. And so this time, this month, October, Clergy Appreciation Month, the time for to be able to say thank you, to acknowledge, to in ways that are tangible, to give appreciation for women, those men who are in clergy that we know. And that then is our assignment for this week. For those of you, especially who are members of a church, part of some religious organization where there is a leader and that you're a part of a congregation, especially for you, ma'am, especially for you, sir, your challenge, your home this week is to show some type of appreciation for the woman of God, the man of God that is a part of your faith community, your faith tradition. And you can do that in ways to simply by verbalizing to them or to send a card to them that says thank you. But the next level is that you can actually do something on another level, a greater level, to express your appreciation for clergy. You can do something for them because to express yourself, it ought to have some weight to it. And I'm not on that bandwagon that you gotta whatever, but you should express in some physical, some tangible way to the man of God, the woman of God that you know that is in your life. Express some type of appreciation. That is your homework. That is your challenge. So next time you have contacted and been in touch with somebody in clergy and in ministry and have shared, if you are not saved and are not a part of a congregation, then let me ask you to have thoughts and well wishes for those who are clergy and ministry, whatever way that works in the faith community. You do that. Pray for us. Pray with us. And next time, then, I will do with us what is called the Love Checkup for Clergy. Now, everybody's invited. That doesn't exclude anybody. Everybody's invited. Please, ma'am, please, sir, come back and be a part of the Love Checkup for Clergy next week, 6 o'clock p.m. on Love and the Scriptures. See you then.